Hi, I'm Nathan. You're watching Nice at Dice, and today I am reviewing a board game accessory called Board Game Clips. These are from a company called Printables by Karen. They come in a small bag like this. They come in a number of varieties. I have two such varieties. I have these ones, which are straight clips like this, and I'll show you a little bit more of how they work and how they can be used. And they also come in these 120-degree clips, which look like this. And again, I'll show you a little bit more about those. I'll show you how these can be used, what they're good for, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on them. So this is the board for a game called Star Traders. It's kind of typical of the way a lot of board games are, in that you have a break in the board here to facilitate being able to fold it. And so sometimes that break will cause one side of the board to flip up, or the two sides may even separate a little bit due to play because of just the natural warping of the cardboard and so forth. So one of the uses for these clips, you can grab a straight clip like this and you can just put it on the edge of the board. It takes a little bit of effort to get it under the bottom of the board there, but put it on there like so, and now that'll hold together. It won't separate at all. You can even take another straight clip and you can put it on this fold here, on this edge, and that'll just help the board to lay a little more flat. Again, because of the way the boards are constructed, sometimes they tend to just want to bow or bend a certain way. And so these clips can help you to keep those straight. So this is a board constructed using these hex-based tiles from the game Small Star Empires. A lot of games have you build a board out of tiles like this. And one of the drawbacks to this arrangement is that as you play, it's not unusual for the tiles to start to separate a little bit. If you happen to bump the board, then they're going to separate, and that can happen just in the course of normal play. Over here I've used the same sort of tiles to construct a board, but I've used the clips that are for hex-based tiles, and I've put 6 of them around the perimeter of the board, and as you can see, the board is very stable, it's held together well, you can move it around, you can bump it, and the tiles don't separate at all. One thing I will point out is, as you can see with these clips, they are very thin. However, they are thick enough to raise the edges of the board a little bit. And it's not a whole lot, but it is enough that it can cause breaks in the seam between the outer tiles and the inner tiles. I don't think it's enough to disrupt play, but it is worth noting. So hopefully that walkthrough gives you a general idea of how each of these different types of clips can be used, what's some of the advantages and the functionality of them. I think the straight clips are very good. I actually had a hard time finding a board game in my collection that used a square or rectangular board with multiple folds and that really needed these. Even the board that I showed you, I don't think really needs these. However, I have played games where I felt like these would be useful to have. For example, not to throw anyone under the bus, but Pandemic Legacy, the board for both Season 1 and 2, tended to bow, and where you had that split in the board, it was always separating and so forth. So if I had had these when I was playing through that would have been a great use for these. And I imagine there are probably other boards where this would be very useful. The 120-degree or hex clips I think are more useful, because obviously any game that requires you to put multiple tiles like that together to form the board, there's that tendency for the tiles to separate and drift apart just in the normal activity of playing the game, and so these are going to help you with that quite a bit. I mentioned, and I would like to reiterate, that even though these are very thin, they do raise up the edges of a board like that a little bit, and it can cause that separation between the outer tiles and the inner tiles. I don't think it's a big problem, but it is something that could be a little bit of a nuisance at times. I would also mention that with the 120-degree clips, or the hex clips in particular, it's important to get the right size, and by size I mean like the actual depth of the clip. It's important to get that right, because as I was looking for board games to demonstrate these with, I pulled a few different ones off of my shelf and tried it out with those. It works great with Small Star Empires. I also tried it with Xia, Legends of a Drift System. It works good with those. But I tried it with Civilization A New Dawn, and the tiles in that game are a good bit thicker. And so using the clips that I have caused those tiles to actually bow and separate even worse. And so they have these in different sizes, or different, thicknesses, I guess is the right word. And so make sure that you get the clips that are a good thickness for the game you intend to use them with. I may end up actually getting some more of these in a bigger thickness in order to use with Civilization. But even that being said, I still have a good number of uses for these. A couple of caveats with the 120 or the hex clips. I've been playing a lot of a game recently called Hot Shots, where you build a board out of hexagonal tiles, but in that game you are flipping over the tiles as you play, and so using something like this would be a real nuisance in a game like that if you need to flip over or somehow manipulate the tiles frequently during play. So bear that in mind. And then also with Xia, although they worked well with that game, it's a game where the board will expand as you explore more space, and so you will have to occasionally kind of work with the clips a little bit in order to expand the board as you play, and that can be a little fiddly and a bit of a nuisance, but it won't happen, I think, so constantly that it would be a problem with that game. But just bear that in mind. If you're thinking about buying these for a specific game, just think about, do I need to manipulate the tiles a lot in the game that I'm planning on using, or are the tiles pretty much static once you've set them up? Obviously, if the tiles are static, then the clips are going to be a lot more useful. If the tiles get manipulated a lot, or if you're adding more tiles on as you play the game, then the clips are going to be a little more of a nuisance. But they could still be functional, and they might still help you out. It's just something to weigh in that regard. Overall, I think they're a pretty good product. They're pretty good quality. They are 3D printed. But I don't think that takes away from the quality of them, really. The quality is certainly sufficient for what they are and how they're used. I got them through Kickstarter, pledging to the project there, but you can also buy them through their website, so I'll leave a link in the description to that if you're interested in purchasing them yourself. In any case, that's an overview of the board game clips from Printables by Karen. My name is Nathan. You're watching Nice at Dice. Thank you so much for watching, and you enjoy the rest of your day.